as it's a zkSync chain, it will be interoperable with other zkSync chains, and it will share with them the same bridge on Ethereum. So that's what we call shared liquidity or aggregated liquidity. So having a system of aggregated liquidity across multiple chains opens up all kinds of use cases.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship. My name is Lum, your Web3 host today. This is the 29th episode, and here I am today joined by Ken Timsit. He is the Managing Director at Cronos Labs. For those of you who are new to the show, Colors of Web3 Entrepreneurship is a show highlighting the journeys of builders and innovators in Web3 and entrepreneurship. Some topics, especially in Web3, may get technical, but we do our best to keep it accessible for most people. Ken, can you give a quick introduction by yourself?
Of course. Hi, Lam. It's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And hi to everyone on the podcast. So I'm Ken Timsit. I'm the head of Cronos Labs. Cronos Labs is a startup accelerator that focuses on the development of the Cronos ecosystem. And I'll talk about that Cronos blockchain ecosystem more deeply during the podcast. But for now, let's just say, it's one of the leading blockchain ecosystems in the world, composed of 3 chains: Cronos, the flagship chain, Cronos POS, and Cronos zkEVM. I've been working on the Cronos project for almost 3 years now, since before Cronos went live. Before that, I was working at Consensus, the company behind MetaMask and Infura, for 5 years, where I was in charge of sales and marketing. And before that, I worked for many years in consulting and finance, traditional capital markets. What brought me to blockchain, back in 2017 was really the realization about the amazing possibilities offered by the Ethereum virtual machine and smart contracts when it comes to creating programmable money and really rewiring the financial infrastructure of the world. As a result, the Cronos ecosystem as a whole has a strong DeFi bias. DeFi is really the strongest vertical on the chain, but there's also a very vibrant NFT and gaming community that we can talk about too.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Wow. It sounds like there's a lot of stuff that you've been handling. Of course, we'll touch upon things that Cronos Labs is handling later, but to get to know a bit more your professional background. So you've always been in, like you said, you've been in technology and finance, right? And then you got into blockchain like in 2017. What was like, what was the first thing that you interact or learn about in blockchain? Was that Bitcoin, Ethereum, or a white paper, or what actually brought you into it?
Yeah, so I really I had been aware of blockchain technology at an intellectual level when I was working in TradFi, but really the turning point for me was getting to know the folks at Consensus and understanding the thinking and possibilities offered by Ethereum. So, for the first few years at Consensus, I was really helping to evangelize Ethereum technology to governments, enterprises, other developers. And so the possibilities offered by smart contracts were really what opened my eyes to the what DeFi and crypto could do for the world. Nice. So I really started with, I guess, my journey into blockchain with hardcore developers. Really, the Consensus team was heavily involved in developing the Ethereum ecosystem at the time through dozens of projects that explored every possible use case, from financial ones, payment, DEXs, etc., to social ones. There was even a project working on building the tools for a space economy for much later when human civilization moves to space.
Really, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, and so eventually, all those use cases, I guess, filtered down to those many of those that we know now as being the anchor points of the crypto ecosystem.
Nice, I see. So doing quite a lot of things here. Did you say you're basically handling sales and marketing at Consensus, right? So was it like across a spectrum of products, or was it like one product?
Yeah, I mean, the crypto economy evolved a lot between 2017 and, let's say, and now. In the early days, there wasn't really any revenue source for most blockchain projects unless they were selling something to enterprises and governments. And really 2017, 2018 was the big wave of enterprises starting to run blockchain proof of concept and understanding how blockchain could transform their business. So back then, what we called sales was really mostly like sales to enterprises. But then over time, the crypto ecosystem started to develop an economy of its own with revenue-making DeFi projects and other projects buying services from other companies. And so nowadays, the economy has completely transformed. Nowadays, if you're a Web3 startup, mostly you're selling to other Web3 native companies. So you're selling infrastructure to DEXs or to NFT platforms. You're selling wallet. If you're a wallet, you're offering integrated native swap functionalities to your end users, and you're getting a transaction fee from that. And so in a way, it's now, anyway, the revenues generated from within the crypto ecosystem are many times greater than the revenues that used to be available for the industry a few years ago. And so, my role similarly evolved from being very enterprise focused to becoming really focused on the Web3 native customers and users.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and sounds quite exciting. But I do think that we probably need both Web3 native user and also the enterprise customer, right, to adopt for Web3 solution. But that's quite cool. So would you say that you deal more with like now that in your position? Anyway, we'll dive more into your position a bit more later. But maybe can you share with us what is it you do for fun outside of Web3? Your hobbies?
Web3 is pretty much a 24/7 occupation. So I've, of course, spent time with my family the rest of the time and do exercise. Not that I particularly enjoy it, but I have to do it. Yeah. So between my family and like just keeping abreast of what's happening in Web3 and making sure the Cronos ecosystem is running smoothly, that pretty much keeps my days busy.
I see. Yeah, I bet. No, I totally agree. I think most people I know in Web3 is also have like this 27 on mode. It's kind of like hard to separate from your life, right? But yeah, somehow just make it intertwine. And then, yeah, and with a lot of new information coming up, it's hard to not, if you don't learn about the new things, you may actually be left behind, right? Yeah, so it's quite crucial.
And of course, a lot of market movements tend to come in the morning Asia time, which is during the night for most people in other regions of the world. There's also usually lots of things happening on Fridays because lots of projects and traders prepare the weekend where they know that retail users are going to be more active. So yeah, the times when the rest of the world is usually starting to unwind is oftentimes the times when the crypto market is starting to heat up.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think that's also true. I think that trading activity is always 24/7. But I think there's a lot of discussion, new projects, new concepts, new narratives, right? That's always popping up, and you do need to kind of spend time to research, understand what else is going on. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and deep dive into your current company, Cronos Lab. Feel free to share with us a presentation, website, or whatever you have.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I thought I'd just use the website and various associated websites to show what it's about. And in this way, it's also easier for the audience to track what I'm talking about and spend time by themselves.
Certainly, yeah. Please.
So really the starting point for anyone who is interested in the Cronos ecosystem is the main website, the umbrella website called cronos.org. So that's what I'm showing now on my screen. So Cronos, you have to think about it as a blockchain ecosystem. It's not a single network. In fact, if you look at the pop-up that just appeared on my screen, you can see that now Cronos, the Cronos ecosystem consists in 3 networks. The original network that kind of started this whole ecosystem and project is what is now called Cronos POS. So that's a pure Cosmos chain that is used for high speed and cheap payments, and NFT transactions. Cronos POS is heavily used by Crypto.com for their payment and NFT products. So it's really an infrastructure, a high-performance infrastructure that is used at scale by a large exchange like Crypto.com, one of the biggest in the world. However, Cronos POS is as a Cosmos chain, it's really use case specific. So if you're an independent developer, you can't just come and build your application on Cronos POS. And so that's why over the years, we have created 2 additional chains that are EVM compatible, meaning that they enable independent developers to create their app and take advantage of the vibrant ecosystem of end users who's already present on those chains. So a few years ago, we launched Cronos EVM. Currently, that is our flagship chain. It's what we call an alt L1. So it's an alternative layer 1 blockchain. It is EVM compatible. It is the leading EVM compatible chain built on the Cosmos SDK, which means that it's both interoperable with Ethereum and the EVM chains and interoperable with other Cosmos chains. There is this technology called IBC that makes it possible to bridge tokens and cryptos from between Cosmos chains. And of course, Cronos EVM is compatible with that.
I see. So Cosmos EVM, was it built from Cosmos SDK?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So the Cronos EVM was built on the Cosmos SDK and with an EVM compatible layer on top of it called Ethermint. And finally, currently we're launching Cronos zkEVM. Cronos zkEVM is also an EVM compatible chain that is open to all developers. It's a layer 2 on top of Ethereum. It's what we call a hyperchain that is built with the zkSync technology. And so the value proposition of Cronos zkEVM is really, take advantage of the vibrant user and developer community of Cronos and expand it to layer 2 on top of Ethereum, meaning that all assets are secured by Ethereum, all cross-chain transactions are secured by Ethereum. And so for whales and heavy users of crypto who are very concerned about the safety of their assets, they have the peace of mind that their assets are secured by Ethereum, where most of the liquidity already lives. Cronos zkEVM also aims to be one of the cheapest chains out there when it comes to transaction fees. And so hopefully that will unlock all kinds of use cases in DeFi and in gaming that up until now were only emerging on the ecosystem or only possible on chains, on super cheap chains like Solana or Aptos.
Yeah, I see. By the way, for the Cosmos zkEVM, what was the reason why you guys chose zkSync hyperchain?
So it's Cronos zkEVM, not Cosmos zkEVM. But yeah, to answer your question, so today there are a few protocols of zk layer 2 technologies. For us, several of them work well, even though it's still early days. For us, when we get involved in a technology, it's really important that we're able to contribute to it. So we're not just consumers of open source repositories. We take pride in contributing back to the community. And of course, in order to do that, you need to be able to have to partner with a team who's open to the idea that other people will contribute to the repository, who have a process for other teams to contribute. And so the working relationship that we have established with the zkSync team over the years made us confident that this was something that we could do on zkSync. So the overriding factor for us was ability to contribute to the open source project and not just be a consumer.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think relationship and also being able to contribute very important, right? Because I know the zkSync, the whole hyperchain is open source. So yeah, if your team contribute to it, I think it just makes sense that you would try that. Cool.
Indeed. So all three chains are carbon neutral. All three chains share this vibrant community of end users who have been, for most of them, in crypto for a while, and who are holders of the protocol token called CRO. And all three chains are also part of our, part of the same partnership that we have with Crypto.com and other members of the ecosystem. And so, the idea here is really to, with zkEVM, to keep building on what we've already built and to expand the ecosystem to new use cases. Maybe to finish the presentation, and then we can answer more questions. In terms of outcomes and key numbers at the moment. So the Cronos ecosystem so far is securing about $6 billion of assets. When you look at the TVL rankings of Cronos EVM today,
is that across all three chains?
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically for Cronos EVM, which is the main DeFi chain right now, it's ranked number 11 on DeFi Llama by TVL. And since launch, that chain has always been around the top 10 of all chains when it comes to TVL, which is a measure of DeFi liquidity. Those chains have settled about 150 million transactions over the years, and they are all relatively cheap in their own way. So a payment on Cronos POS is way cheaper than a cent of US dollar. On Cronos zkEVM, most transactions are between 5 and 10 cents. And on Cronos zkEVM, we expect to be able to deliver cheap transaction fees in the order of a cent. So really, between the easy on-ramp and off-ramp that is offered by the partnership with Crypto.com, combined with the cheap transaction fees and the carbon neutral footprint, we think that this ecosystem overall and the chains that are part of it are really well suited for mainstream adoption. And in fact, also when we look at the fabric of the end user base, we can see that it's really global, but it's also very consumer oriented. Most of the users are just regular people who have a day job and are passionate about innovation in DeFi, NFT, and gaming, and are spending their evenings and weekends being part of that community. Aside from the regular jobs that they have. So it's not so much a community of professional traders. It's really a community of everyday people participating in a joint adventure.
Nice, I see. Yeah, it's quite cool. What's the? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so I believe that the Cronos chain, the original Cronos POS, was it built out of the necessity by Crypto.com, or what's the exact relationship there?
It was so it's an open source project, so it was contributed by Crypto.com.
Okay,
but the Cronos POS is one of the oldest blockchain networks now, and it's fully decentralized. So it has its own network of validators who's decentralized, which makes all decisions. There is no treasury. There is no kind of foundation that manages it. It's it lives its own life now. I think the rationale for like the history of the creation of Cronos POS was really at a time when the Cosmos ecosystem was gaining a lot of traction, in particularly in Asia, and there was a strong thesis at the time that Cosmos would become a federation of self-sovereign chains, and therefore, anyone who has some use case on blockchain, like payments, in the case of of Cronos POS ought to build their own interoperable Cosmos chain that would interface and interoperate with other app-specific chains. And so at the time, it seemed like a normal thing to do to be part of that federation of blockchains. This concept of multiple chains all being equal and interoperating with each other, I think took a backseat with the very strong growth of Ethereum. And today, the situation where we are in, which is we have very large dominance of the Bitcoin and the Ethereum chain. But I think now it's coming back, right? So now when it comes to the way that layer 2s are being built on top of Ethereum, there is again this idea that the only way for crypto to truly scale is to be able to be comprised of many chains interoperating with each other. The Cosmos ecosystem is, of course, continuing to innovate in that respect, but now also the Ethereum ecosystem has followed suit. And more recently, the Bitcoin ecosystem is following kind of a similar path. So I think that thesis that was at the origin of the creation of the Cronos POS chain remains valid, even though the technical details have changed. And nowadays, it's really hard to have a chain that doesn't support third-party developers. So that's why we added the EVM layer on top of the other chains as part of the Cronos ecosystem.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. How long have the chain been operational? I mean, the oldest one, Cronos POS.
Several years. It's
okay. Cool. Can you actually like to know more about the people behind the Cronos Labs? Right? How many people work in your team right now?
So Cronos Labs is about 100 people, mostly focused on supporting the open source R&D as well as the acceleration of the ecosystem. So we have an accelerator program. We have various programs that we run to help support the visibility of all the projects being built in the ecosystem. It's a distributed team. It's also a team where people come and go sometimes depending on the projects.
I see. What percent would you say is in engineering, and what percent the rest is work in business related function?
It's majority of engineering.
So the engineering, okay, nice. So there's, of course, you guys are contributing to the open source ecosystem and maintaining the chain. I think you said earlier there's no foundation, right? So is it like Cronos Lab is the one probably looking at some major initiative upgrade governance? Is that like what Cronos Lab is also handling?
Not really. So so Cronos Labs is not strictly speaking a foundation. It's really a startup accelerator. So the setup is a bit different from other chains that may have a foundation that was built primarily to issue and manage the token, I guess. In the case of Cronos, the token kind of pre-exists the creation of those chains. I mean, the creation of the Cronos EVM and zkEVM chains. The token is fully controlled by the Cronos POS chain. And its kind of emission schedule and everything are fully baked into the code of that chain. So, as far as Cronos Labs is concerned, because we are mostly concerned with the third-party developer ecosystem, we mostly work on Cronos EVM and zkEVM. Those two chains use the Cronos token, but have nothing to do with its with the way that it's emitted or secured, which comes from Cronos POS. So in that sense, we're really a startup accelerator and not so much a foundation.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah. So I guess you'll be focused more on the ecosystem, right? Like what you are
exactly
on the screen. Yeah. Can you share with us what's in the ecosystem right now? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So in order to demonstrate the ecosystem, we've last year we set up this page called Cronos Discover. So that's discover.cronos.org. And it really aims to showcase the ecosystem as well as help users who are looking for reliable numbers, right? So TVL, number of users, so that they can kind of understand which projects are established and are the leading ones, and which ones are more recent and therefore require more caution, but also are interesting because they are more innovative. So overall, there are three main verticals: DeFi, NFTs, and gaming. Keeping in mind that most of the NFT projects are now evolving and thinking about ways to, or implementing ways for their NFT collections to have some form of utility as part of an entertaining experience, meaning a game. So if I click on DeFi, so on DeFi, really the common thread among the projects that you see here is to try and provide like easy to use interfaces that mainstream users can use to access the typical protocols that you'd find on any EVM chain. So those are called the financial primitives. So decentralized exchange, decentralized lending, etc. So all those DeFi use cases exist on Cronos and on other chains. So the differentiation on Cronos is more that the dApps usually try to make it more fun and more easy to understand to access those types of protocols. So VVS Finance is by far the biggest DeFi protocol on Cronos. It's a decentralized exchange that also includes a launchpad. In recent months, it has been extremely successful and busy with the wave of meme coins that has taken the world of Web3 by storm, and is also very much present on the Cronos chain. Tectonic is a decentralized lending and decentralized lending protocol. So if you're a user who's trying to borrow some ETH or cryptocurrency for trade, you can go there. But also, as a result, it's a money market protocol as well. So many users just use Tectonic for passive staking, investing of their crypto holdings while they're not doing anything else with them. Vino is a liquid staking protocol. So that's obviously very, very hot at the moment. All kinds of liquid staking offer the ability for users to stake their tokens and still keep using those tokens for various DeFi uses. So Vino offers liquid staking for Crow, for ETH, and for a few Cosmos tokens. Fulcrum is a decentralized perpetual trading platform that offers up to 100x leverage. And so for advanced traders who want to take advantage of smaller market movements, it's very interesting and again, very easy to use. And then when you go down the list, you see other types of DeFi protocols that exist that, for example, are about yield farming or more complex investment solutions. In general, the thread is really to try and offer to users investment vaults where they can stake their assets and make passive yield through various types of engineering.
I see. For most of these protocols or projects, are they available on all three Cronos chains, or are they some available on some chain but some are not?
So Cronos, they are available on the Cronos EVM chain. With respect to the Cronos POS chain, that chain is not open to third-party developers, right? So as a Cosmos chain, it only supports applications that are hard-coded into the protocol. So none of those applications is present on Cronos POS.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, so basically only the core team member can build apps on there or something like that, or how?
Well, it's not that, but it's that the only way to deploy an application on Cronos POS is to upgrade the protocol, basically, because applications need to be coded at the protocol level. So it's always possible to do so, because the chain has an open governance. Anyone can propose a code upgrade, but in practice, when it comes to Cosmos chains that are dApp specific, it's very rare that someone would do that, because it's a much more like the hurdle to get a new application deployed into the protocol is much higher than on an EVM chain where you can just deploy a smart contract. So new applications occasionally get added to Cronos POS, can be added to Cronos POS, but the number of applications is never going to reach the hundreds of applications that you see on Cronos and Cronos zkEVM. And finally, when it comes to Cronos zkEVM, so that chain is currently in testnet. So the plan is to go to mainnet during the summer. And so during the summer, we certainly expect to see an expansion of many of the dApps that are shown here, who are currently on Cronos EVM, and will also, for many of them, start to serve the users on Cronos zkEVM as well.
I see. Cool. Yeah. So can you, go on.
Maybe moving on to the other verticals.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So NFTs, NFT apps and NFT collections are like very vibrant on Cronos. Most of them are kind of homegrown, meaning that they have their own very strongly, very strong community of end users and developers who have collaborated in developing them. When it comes to NFT, marketplaces where NFTs are launched and traded, the two main ones are Minted here and Hibiscus Bay. And then again, on top of those two platforms, a bunch of collections and use cases have been built. And really what's interesting and important about NFTs is how those teams are gradually evolving into creators of games. The two most popular games on Cronos, the best way to show them is to go to the rankings. So here you can see the top games ranked by daily active users. And currently the three main dApps are Hibiscus Bay, which has a game called Ryoshi Tales. It's a resource management game, so you acquire assets to build a civilization.
Is it kind of like SimCity in a way? Is it similar to SimCity? Yeah.
Yes. Although it works well on mobile, so it's kind of also designed to be easy to access from mobile, and I think that many users appreciate that. The second most popular game is probably Loaded Lion's main city. Right now, you can't see the numbers that you see on this page don't fully reflect the activity, because those games usually have many, most of the activity on those games is off chain, and then what's on chain is really kind of financial transactions, when users acquire or sell assets. So this page is only showing on-chain activity, which is a fraction of the total number of users on those apps. So in reality, Loaded Lion main city is probably the second most popular game, and it's what is called a tycoon game. So game also where as a user you accumulate buildings and properties or assets in a city, and try to achieve success with that. And then Crosscurl is also a very popular NFT collection first, and now a game that is built by a team that is outstanding in the way that they constantly engage with the community and keep the community entertained. They've been a mainstay of Cronos and very strong builder since the start. And then of course other games are coming up or have been there for a while. So the list is long, and we certainly don't have time to talk about every single one.
Yeah, all good. Actually, I'm curious. So, since you are basically in charge of the ecosystem, what are some of the criteria you look for? I mean, these are all is it permissionless, right? So people can just come in and deploy. Yeah. But do you provide something to support? I guess what I'm asking is what is your main interaction with some of these new dApps? Do you support them in some way? Provide grants or hackathon, things like that? Or
Yeah, so over the years we've implemented various programs. There's a grant program that provides incentives for developers to build on the chain. There is an accelerator program that was launched 2 years ago, has now completed its third cohort. And in terms of number of applications by cohort, it's one of the most successful Web3 accelerator program in the world. It's way above 500 applications per cohort. And then we also support the projects by putting the spotlight on them. So we have all kinds of Twitter Spaces, newsletters, Twitter threads, dedicated to ensuring that new projects and existing projects have maximum visibility with the user base. And of course, we do a lot of introductions also between those projects so that they can help each other. Over the years, I think that we've seen that the accelerator program is very effective in reshaping the ecosystem with products that are missing. The grants are probably less effective. I think that it's not. I mean, projects that find their community usually. What works much better for them is to make sure that they're introduced to other projects so that they can find their community. So over the years, we found that marketing support and kind of introductions and business development support are much more effective tools to get projects to be successful than just like financial support.
I see. Yeah. You were saying that there were some apps that are missing. Like what sort of apps do you think they're missing, and what sort of app would you like to see on the being developed on the blockchain in the future?
Yeah, mostly I think more of the same, but there are three main gaps that over time will get filled on Cronos and in other ecosystems as well, I think. So first of all, in DeFi, I think that the real trend is really to move towards offering an experience similar to centralized exchange, but with self-custody and in the context of decentralized trading platforms. So projects like Fulcrum on Cronos, but also like on other chains, DYDX, GMX, have started to move in that direction, but we're still quite far from it. And for day traders, the centralized exchange experience continues to be pretty good and remains the gold standard. So I think projects that build in that direction will have a lot of success during the coming years. Number two, we talked about games. What we found is that building games is hard, much harder, in fact, than DeFi protocols. On Cronos and on other chains, you always have a lot of gaming announcements, but in terms of live games that are open to all users, it really takes years to get there. And so we need to continue to push for that to happen. We're really glad that there is an initial base of very active games on Cronos, but we definitely want to have more and should have more. And finally, I think since last year, the whole social vertical has started to take off in crypto. So on Cronos, the kind of if I can see it somewhere, Cronos ID here, which originally was a name service protocol and is now evolving into a provider of notifications and next messaging. So Cronos ID has started to explore the social vertical, but it's still very early days. And we're very excited by what we're seeing in other ecosystems like FriendStake, Farcaster, Lens. We'd like to see more of that and hope that the homegrown social dApp ecosystem can also grow on Cronos.
Nice, I see. Yeah, so there's quite a different variety of flavors, right? Ranging from DeFi to gaming and then to social fire as well. So it's quite a lot of things, yeah, coming on. Actually, I think since you're basically the MD of Cronos Labs, I guess you do a bit everything. But can you maybe share with us, like, is there a typical day or or a typical week for you? What are the things you do on a daily or weekly basis?
It really varies depending on the what's happening in the ecosystem. I'd say in general, half of the time is spent thinking about the protocol itself. So where we, how we can further evolve the open source project and what kind of infrastructure partners we need for the ecosystem to be easily usable by developers. And, half of the time is spent on helping developers with visibility, with introductions, so that they can be as successful as they can be on Cronos. Right now, because we're preparing to build, we're building the Cronos zkEVM network and we're preparing to launch it. Most of with respect to the first part of my day that I talked about, most of that is dedicated to Cronos zkEVM. We are going to announce a new testnet next week, and then we are going to get started with pre-launch activities, which are going to include quests and a reward program for users, all kinds of exciting things that you would expect from a newly launched chain. So it's definitely a lot of work with a lot of interesting challenges. The Cronos zkEVM network, one of its has a few elements in its value proposition. So one element of the value proposition is that as it's a zkSync chain, it will be interoperable with other zkSync chains, and it will share with them the same bridge on Ethereum. So that's what we call shared liquidity or aggregated liquidity. So having a system of aggregated liquidity across multiple chains opens up all kinds of use cases, and we have to think about what's the best way to take advantage of that. And then also one of the specificities of the Cronos zkEVM chain is that it will use yield-bearing assets as primary cryptos on the chain. So if you have CRO, ETH, or USDC on Ethereum, and you bridge them over to Cronos zkEVM, what you will get are zkCRO, zkETH, and zkUSD, which are assets that generate yield simply by holding them. And then on top of that, of course, you can generate extra yield by investing them or staking them or doing whatever you want with the existing protocols on the chain. So you can pile up the yield, and figuring out how to do that is not straightforward. Blast has successfully done it somewhat with some workarounds. And we're planning to do that as well, probably in a different way, but we spend a lot of time figuring out how to make that as easy as possible for end users.
I see.
And then when it comes to the second part of my work, which is visibility and business development, so right now we're running a series of quests called the Cronos Spring Odyssey. The idea that's hosted on Galaxy, GA. I can show the website. Yeah, so it's on the Galaxy website, so GALXE.com. And it's a series of quests by season that we are currently running in partnership with the dApps of the ecosystem. We started by a DeFi themed series. Then we moved to an NFT festival, and now we're running the meme coin series of the quest. You can see the meme coin one is particularly successful with almost 20,000 participants already and counting. So there's a lot of activity going on there, and a lot of coordination happening with the teams to make sure that we feature that project in the best possible light.
Cool.
And so if you're an end user, you can visit that website and also use that to get familiarized with some of the top dApps in the ecosystem.
So just let me recap the main reason why I think you guys want to build the Cronos zkEVM chain. One is that you want to do the shared liquidity which is part of the zk stack, right? I think whatever public chains on there, they can be shared. I'm not sure how that work, but I guess that would be one of the characteristics. And I think the second one is that you're trying to modify the zk stack in a way to add the yield bearing portion into some native assets, right? Like Crow and
Correct.
ETH. Is that correct? Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I think there'll be quite a lot of engineering work, because I think this have to be modified at the protocol at the chain level, right?
No,
Maybe for the
so
chains.
we don't need to change the protocol for that, because first of all, we work together with the zkSync team to make sure that zkSync technology supports what is called custom tokens, because on zkSync currently you pay fees in ETH, so we needed to change that, and that's done now. So the protocol now supports any token to pay for gas. And now that it's done, basically everything else can be built on top of it as a series of smart contracts deployed on the chain. So we built the whole ecosystem in such a way that those yield-bearing tokens don't require any change at the protocol level. Therefore, we're still compatible with other hyperchains, which we just need to deploy a series of smart contracts on top of it, which maintains the compatibility with other hyperchains and maintains the shared liquidity that is so important.
I see. So these will actually be like custom tokens, right? Instead of like
Yes.
the regular native. Okay. So basically, those will only exist on the new Cronos zkEVM chain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Wow. I see. Exciting. And you said probably launch in later this year, or?
Yeah, definitely. It's scheduled for this summer. Where we don't have a set date yet, because there are a lot of dependencies. The main dependency is that we first need the zkSync ERA chain to migrate to that shared bridge. That has already happened in testnet, but not yet in mainnet. So that the shared bridge that is so important was just released last week, I think, this week or last week in testnet. And we're going to follow suit with our testnet upgrade as well. But then for Cronos zkEVM to be launched in mainnet, we need the mainnet to be available on mainnet, and we need it to be well tested. So we still need a few weeks for now, but the launch is really around the corner. We are going, starting early June, we are going to start announcing pre-launch activities for end users, such as quests and other things that can help them to earn points.
Nice. That's a very exciting. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a smooth launch. Yeah. Anyway, just a couple more questions here from my side. One question I'd like to ask for most of you who have been in Web3 for a very long time, it's also my show signature question. What can we do to onboard like 1 billion people into Web3?
As much as I'd like to see 1 million people into Web3 in full self-custody, I think these days I'm starting to lean towards a vision where it's okay to accept that wallet providers will provide some form of intermediation to make the user journey easier. And so, I anticipate that the self-custodial ecosystem that we all know and love will host dApps, and those dApps will be accessed by end users. For some of them through pure self-custody, so like Rabi Wallet and MetaMask and things like that. And for some of them, apps that have much more of a Web2 feel, and will make it easy for them to will offer a more narrow set of actions that they can take, but also those actions will kind of will be safer and will have a lower risk of error. I've been in crypto for a while, and so I'm very comfortable with checking smart contracts, doing my own research, checking transactions. But I think it's not reasonable to expect that everyone can do that. I think it's important for some users that, again, we restrict what they can do in the native integration with the Web2 app, so that they, even though they won't be able to access the full innovation of the ecosystem, they also have a lower risk of error. I'm always sad when I see people getting rugged or losing all their crypto because they made the wrong transaction. So I think that's what we need. We need to remove the risk for regular users to face potentially disastrous consequences if they take the wrong action. And if we remove that, really the possibilities are endless, because the economy, like the fundamental economics of DeFi and crypto are so good. Transaction fees are very low. You have an incredible amount of innovation and competition. Oligopolies like what we can find in other financial markets. It's a truly global user base. The promise is so exciting. We just need to remove the anxiety that comes for certain users when they approach that ecosystem.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the UI UX, but also the safety aspect of it is probably super important to onboard regular user into Web3. So yeah, just two more questions here from my side. One is, do you have any advice for people who want to build on Cronos?
To build on Cronos, you said? Yeah, so it's important to understand that Cronos is primarily a retail chain, a consumer chain, as I mentioned at the beginning. As a result of that, the projects that are really successful are the ones who spend as much time building the product as they do engaging with the community. I've been disappointed sometimes by great products that didn't find their market on Cronos because they were not tweeting several times a day or answering every single comment on the Discord. For us as well, it's challenging. It's really challenging to keep to answer every question on Discord. It really takes resources and the commitment to engagement. Yeah, but if you don't do it, it doesn't work. So that's my biggest recommendation for people who want to build on Cronos and probably on other consumer chains as well is to really prioritize that activity.
Yeah, I think like community is super important in any Web3 project, right? So you do have to prioritize the community-facing aspect, such as answering questions or interacting with your end user. And if you say retail chain, then for sure there'll be a lot of end user. Anyway, yeah, awesome. Final question: where can people follow you? Feel free to share any public handles or username. Or
yeah, the best place is the Cronos Chain official Twitter channel. So that's Cronos_chain. I have my own Twitter account as well that I use to amplify additional aspects of the ecosystem, but Cronos_chain is the best starting point for most users.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll make sure to put that leave the name down in the show notes so people can follow. And once again, Ken, thank you for joining the show today. It's been a lot of fun talking to you today. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone. Bye.
And we're back to my studio. What do you guys think about this episode with Ken Timsit? Looks like in the Cronos Labs, they are focused quite a lot on DeFi, NFT, and gaming, which is a very retail-oriented approach. If you learned something new about the Cronos ecosystem, please leave a comment below. For the next episode, we'll be navigating away from Web3 and into the world of entrepreneurship with Noriko Shindo. She is the COO of Hue. At Hue, they are trying to create a world where taste matters through the app, which lets users find their own colors that represent their eating preferences and tastes, and then from there recommend a list of the user favorite eateries that could be restaurant, cafes, and bar. It's a very interesting episode that you don't want to miss. If you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe because it will mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching and see you next time.